What's up, everybody? A couple of weeks ago, I made a Facebook post about student loans, and ever since I made that post, a lot of people have been asking me questions, sending me messages, wanting to know more information. So I decided to make this little short video to try to explain what that post was about, because there's a lot more that goes into it outside of what the news outlets have been reporting. When you see these posts and all these people out here posting about these letters and they're saying that their student loans have been forgiven, those people have applied for student loan forgiveness. It didn't just happen. If you have not done anything, if you don't have any forgiveness applications in process, if you just hoping that one day you wake up and you're going to get a letter in the mailbox, that's not going to happen. There's no student loan fairy out there that's going to wave a magic wand and all of a sudden one day you're going to wake up and your student loans are gone. What I want you to understand is that there are multiple student loan forgiveness programs available. The most popular ones you'll hear about is teacher and public service, but there's at least like 9 or 10 more. You're gonna have to get off your tail, go on the website and just look through the programs. Take you 10-15 minutes, see if there's something on there that you might be eligible for. Also, I want to point out that there are a lot of jobs out there that are considered public service. Public service loan forgiveness is the most popular forgiveness program that's out there. I talked to somebody who worked for a public school, but she wasn't a teacher. So I was like, you should apply for public service loan forgiveness. She was like, oh, well, I'm not a teacher, so I won't qualify for that. I want you to understand, if you have a job at a public school or any organization that is considered nonprofit, there are so many different public service jobs. And as a matter of fact, the teachers have their own separate loan forgiveness program that don't have anything to do with public service. There's a teacher loan forgiveness program that is separate from public service loan. If you work for a school or some type of nonprofit organization, chances are you are considered a public servant. I don't care if you are the custodian. You work for a nonprofit and you are a public servant. If you're not sure if your job is considered public service, guess what? Go to your HR department. I promise you they can tell you if your job is considered public service or not. I definitely don't know all of the public service jobs out there. Go talk to your HR department and ask them. I guarantee you they know. That's their job to know if your job is considered public service or not. If they don't know, go to the student aid website and put the application in anyway, because guess what, they'll definitely tell you if it's not. But if it is and you didn't apply, you missing out. But anyway, the post that I posted was in regards to just one of those programs. It's called Borrower Defense to Repayment. So this is not all encompassing all the student loans. This is only for that one program. That if you went to a school, you feel like they didn't give you all the information, they gave you false information, they misrepresented information to get you to come there. I'll give you an example. There was a school, I'm not going to name any names, but there was a school that was claiming that if you come to this school, you got a 95% chance of getting a job within 6 months after you graduate. And that number was severely inflated. That was the statistic that they were using to get people to enroll. That's an example of misrepresentation. And so you can't do that. That's just one of many examples. If there was anything that happened that you feel like was not right, then you can file a claim through the Borrower Defense to Repayment program. What I posted the other week, that is a lawsuit that is pending. It's called Sweet versus Cardona. This particular lawsuit is only in regards to Borrower Defense to Repayment applications that are pending. This lawsuit began under the previous administration. The previous administration, the previous Department of Education secretary, decided that they just weren't going to process, well, allegedly, let me say, they decided they just weren't going to process any of these applications because it was just ludicrous that anybody should get their student loans forgiven. A few of the applicants filed a lawsuit on behalf of all of the applicants. So we have to thank these few people that decided this was not right, and we gonna fight for everybody. The original complaint was they weren't processing the applications. So the judge said, hey, you can't do that. You guys have to process the applications. Well, the previous administration decided, okay, we'll process the applications. We're just gonna deny everybody. So they didn't do any due diligence. They didn't do any research. They just did blanket denials. Everybody that had an app in, they denied the application. The attorney for the plaintiffs were like, no, you can't do that. And so they went back. So this has been going on for years. Just want to give you a little backstory on what this lawsuit is about. That brings us to current date. There's a proposed settlement, and I want to emphasize the word proposed. That means it's not final. I actually did pull up the settlement document. It was about 28 pages, and I read not all of it, but pretty much all of it. So I have a pretty good understanding of what the settlement entails. It's basically a two-part situation. List of schools that you have seen going around. That's basically the Department of Education has said, all right, these schools, we've seen so many cases, like, okay, something had to be going on. Or some of the schools, they've had already been in previous lawsuits, and they've either settled or found guilty or whatever. So they're basically saying, you know what, we're not gonna bother with it. If you went to this school, you got a claim in, we washing our hands, you're gonna get your money back. If you went to the school that's on the list, your loans were to the school that was on the list, and two pieces, you went to one of those schools and you have a borrower defense to repayment application already in process. Keyword is already in process. You can't, just because you see your school on this list does not mean anything if you didn't apply for a borrower defense. So you have to have an application in process at the time of the settlement in order to qualify for this forgiveness. Your school is on the list, you got an app in process, this is for you. If this goes through, you're getting your student loans forgiven. That's the first part. Second part, if your school's not on the list, but you have a defense application in the system for whatever school, there's a timeline based on when you apply. They are agreeing to process, do the research, process your application by this time. They've got a staggered timeline based on when your application was in. They are promising that they will make a decision on your loan by this time. If they do not meet the deadline, they will forgive your student loan. They'll go ahead and approve your application. So you heard me say earlier, the settlement is proposed. So that means that it has to go to the judge. The judge has to sign off on it. There is a preliminary approval on the table. We are still waiting to see. It's a lawsuit. It's pending. It's the government. So we're kind of in a wait and see position to see if this is going to go through. Those of you who don't have an application in and feel like, oh, well, there's no need in me worrying about it. This is what I want you to take away. This is not going to be the last settlement. So what you need to do is, like I said, if you fit one of those forgiveness categories, just go and fill out the application. You don't have anything to lose. You go fill the information in. It doesn't cost you anything. They could say no, you didn't lose nothing. But what if they say yes and you get even part of your loans forgiven? I work in the financial industry. I see so many people with six-figure debt. It's ridiculous how much interest and stuff they tack on to these loans and expect for people to just be able to pay it. So even if you get a portion of it forgiven, it's a blessing. Consider it a blessing. But I am happy to help. I don't know everything. I just follow this case closely because I have a massive amount of student loan debt that I got from, I feel like, a school that lied to me. And I am following this case to see, because I mean, if it happens, it'll save my life, but if it doesn't, I'm just gonna pay. And that brings me to another point. None of these options are overnight fixes. So you're not going to submit an application today and then tomorrow all of a sudden they reviewing. It's going to be a long process. My financial advice to you is to pay your loans until something happens. Go ahead and fix your budget to include your student loans until they're not there anymore. And it's better for you to start making the payments if you can. Everybody's situation is different, and I'm not here to say I have been there. I have been in situations where the student loan just was not a priority. I had to figure out how I was gonna pay this rent, or pay this mortgage, or pay this light bill, or buy this food, whatever. I've been there. So it wasn't in the budget, and if it's not in your budget, no judgment here. But if you are able and you just not doing it because it's like, oh, well, they gonna forgive, don't do that. Pay the bill until it's gone, because you can wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and by the time you realize forgiveness ain't coming, you done accrued so much more interest than you really had to. I promise you that interest that you are paying is going to add up quicker than any forgiveness that you could ever get. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, hit me up. I am happy to share what I know and what I don't. We can look it up together. All right, toodles.